She told the world I walked out on my son. But I have the footage of the night she sold him. It started with a headline. Local mother accuses husband of abandoning infant son. The mother's name, Alyssa Grant, my ex-wife. She cried on a morning talk show in Manhattan, voice trembling, hands shaking. She said I vanished when our son, Liam, was just 4 weeks old, and the world believed her. But there's something Alyssa forgot that night on Jefferson Street in Bushwick. She forgot the camera I installed above the hallway light, the one hidden behind the faux smoke detector, the one that recorded every second of the deal she made. 3 years ago, I woke up at 3:12 a.m., disoriented from the wine she'd poured me. There was a strange sound near the front door, like a whisper, a low exchange. When I tried to get up, my vision spun. I crawled to the hallway, and by the time I got there, the door was closing. Our baby's blanket was gone from the crib. So was Alyssa. I passed out minutes later. She told the police I had overdosed, told them I was unstable, that I might be a danger to the baby. I wasn't arrested. I was discredited. I wasn't charged. I was erased. But what she never knew was this. I had installed a full backup surveillance rig connected to a private cloud. The real one was hidden, off-grid, motion-triggered, and silent. And on April 17th, 3:03 a.m., it captured her meeting a man in a black SUV. She held our baby in her arms, Liam, wrapped in the elephant print blanket my mother had sewn. The man said one thing. "Is the paperwork signed?" She nodded. He handed her an envelope. She didn't even kiss the boy goodbye. For the next 3 years, she painted herself as a single mother whose son was taken from her. She posted photos, spoke at women's shelters, started a non-profit, was offered a book deal, and I stayed silent. Not because I was afraid, but because I was tracking the man in the SUV. His name is Julian Reddick. Private broker, no kids, no marriage, but a long trail of sealed family court records and offshore adoption contracts. He works in Tennessee through a shell agency called Sunline Placement Services. I let them think I was gone. I let Alyssa think she'd won, because I needed them to relax, and because the one thing more powerful than the lie is the footage. She said I left my son behind, but I never left, and now I'm coming back for him, and for her. 2 weeks after her media tour peaked, I received a certified letter, custody claim, filed by Law Office of Raymond Cole, acting on behalf of Alyssa Grant. She wanted full parental rights terminated. Cited neglect, abandonment, and psychological trauma caused to the child. There was just one problem. Raymond Cole used to work for me. 10 years ago, I funded a pro bono tech privacy initiative in DC. Smart man, ambitious, and deeply, deeply in my debt. I didn't respond to the letter. I didn't have to, because Raymond already knew who I was. The next morning, I received a secure email from him. I wasn't aware the respondent in this case was you. Raymond lit a cigarette. His hand shook. "She told me you were dangerous," he said. "Did she tell you she sold Liam?" His silence was all I needed. I showed him the clip, the one from April 17th, 3:03 a.m. Julian, the SUV, the envelope. Alyssa's face, cold and calculated. Raymond watched it all and said just one word: Jesus. "You're still her attorney," I said, "not to win, but to bleed her dry. Every hour billed, every motion delayed, every tactic designed to make her confident and sloppy." And behind the scenes, he'd start feeding me updates, witness lists, financial disclosures, her deposition prep, and most importantly, the name of the family who adopted Liam. She thought she hired a sword, but she handed me the handle and kept the blade. Her lawyer gave me the name Daniel and Rebecca Holtz, church-going couple, clean record, adopted a boy named Eli through a private placement, 3 years ago, they lived in a quiet neighborhood just outside Knoxville, Tennessee, in a 2-story red brick house with a flag out front and a yellow Labrador in the yard. They were raising my son. I didn't approach right away. I watched, parked 2 blocks away in a rental car for 2 days, studying their routines. Morning walks, Sunday service, kids playing in the backyard, and Liam, now called Eli, was one of them. Same dark eyes, same cowlick in his hair. The blanket, the one my mother made, still in his room, folded. That destroyed me more than anything else. They weren't monsters. They weren't part of her scheme. They were victims, just like me. On day 3, I left a package in their mailbox. Inside, a copy of Liam's original birth certificate, a USB stick with the video footage, a handwritten letter with just 2 sentences. My name is Nathan Cole, from Rebecca Holtz. She didn't scream. She didn't deny. She just said quietly, "Please come talk to us." We had no idea. I met them in their kitchen. No lawyers, no tension. Just 2 devastated people realizing the boy they loved was born in a lie. Daniel spoke first. Julian said the mother was in danger, that the father had disappeared, that it was a sealed arrangement to protect the child. That's what she wanted everyone to think, I replied. But she wasn't running from me. She was selling him. For cash. Rebecca wept when she saw the footage. Daniel cursed under his breath. But then, he looked me dead in the eye. "What do you want from us?" "Nothing," I said. "Except one thing. I want to know him. Slowly. From a distance, if that's what's best." "And what about her?" he asked. I smiled quietly. "She's about to lose everything." The courtroom was colder than I remembered. Maybe it was the air conditioning, or maybe it was her. Alyssa Grant, in a pearl gray blazer, hair curled soft, holding tissues like a weapon. She looked small in that witness chair, but her voice carried. There were cameras, not inside the courtroom, that wasn't legal, but outside. Reporters, live bloggers, a local morning show with a satellite van parked by the courthouse steps. This hearing wasn't private anymore, and she loved it. "He disappeared," she said, voice wavering. "Left me with a newborn. No money, no word. I thought he might be dead." The judge nodded solemnly. "And during that time, what did you do?" "Everything. I sold my car, moved in with my sister, worked 2 jobs, and when he offered to help me with the adoption, I was desperate." Desperate. That word. She wielded it like a shield. But she wasn't desperate when she took the envelope. She wasn't desperate when she signed Liam away like a used car. She was calculated. And she had just lied under oath. My attorney, Caitlin Avery, let her finish. No interruptions. Let Alyssa spiral into her perfect little story. A story that just happened to leave out a midnight SUV, a private broker, and a $35,000 wire transfer. The moment Alyssa stepped down, she smiled at me, smug, certain, and I smiled back, because the trap was closed. In the gallery, 2 reporters scribbled notes. They had no idea what was coming next. Caitlin stood. "Your Honor, we'd like to introduce a motion to compel digital discovery, including all financial transactions, encrypted messaging, and private communications involving Mr. Julian Reddick." "On what grounds?" the judge asked. Caitlin glanced at Alyssa, calm, precise. "On the grounds that Ms. Grant just gave sworn testimony that contradicts evidence we are prepared to submit." Outside, the live stream cut to commercial. Inside, Alyssa's hand was already trembling, and the walls of her story, they'd just started to crack. Julian Reddick didn't respond to the subpoena, didn't call, didn't appear. His office in Nashville was emptied overnight, phones disconnected, website offline. To the court, he was just a no-show. To me, he was a ghost in hiding. But ghosts still leave footprints, especially when they're paid in cash. I didn't chase Julian directly. That's what he expected. Instead, I tracked the wire transfer Alyssa received, the $35,000 payment logged under a fake family assistance fund. The routing led to a holding account in Cayman National Bank, under a shell corp, Sunline Family Services Limited, which legally didn't exist. But I knew someone who could make it speak. His name was Luis Guerra, offshore compliance auditor. Owed me a favor from a patent dispute I helped him win in 2016. I called him, sent him the account number, said only 6 words. I need the path behind this. Luis didn't ask questions. 3 days later, I got the spreadsheet. It wasn't just one payment. There were 12, all within the same 60-day window, all marked as family support restructuring. 10 to Julian, 1 to Alyssa, 1 more, flagged post-placement coordination fee, to a name I didn't recognize, Dr. Maxine Wells. Alyssa had said she acted alone. No lawyer, no intermediary, just desperation. But this was a system. Dr. Wells turned out to be a licensed adoption psychologist, retired, working part-time out of Queens. I visited her under a different name, told her I was interested in private placement. She nodded slowly. Familiar smile. Our process is careful, discreet, and fully sealed by legal counsel. The mother is always compensated for her pain and transition. Pain and transition. She didn't even blink when she said it. I asked if she remembered Alyssa Grant. She stiffened. I don't disclose client names, sir. I leaned forward. That's fine, but when the federal inquiry begins, I'd rather your name come up as a witness and not as a defendant. She didn't talk, but she handed me a file folder. Inside, 2 signed waivers, one by Julian, one by Alyssa, both bearing the same date, both acknowledging the transfer of parental rights in exchange for negotiated financial relief. The walls were closing in, not in court, not online, but in the shadows, where truth has no filters and cameras never blink. And once that truth surfaced, it wouldn't be Alyssa on a talk show, it would be her on the stand. Saturday morning, Rebecca Holtz was baking waffles. Liam, still called Eli here, was building a tower from wooden blocks on the living room rug. He smiled when I walked in, didn't say much, just handed me a red triangle block like it meant something. I hadn't held him in almost 4 years, and yet, somehow, my hands remembered. Then my phone buzzed. Live Now, Good Morning America, special segment, The Women Left Behind, Alyssa Grant's story. She sat across from the host like she'd rehearsed it 100 times. Hair perfect, lashes thick, tears perfectly timed. He was cruel, she said, manipulative. He made me feel crazy, then just vanished. I didn't even have diapers when he left. Cut to the host's sympathetic nod. Stock footage of a playground, a slow-motion clip of her walking alone on a pier, probably staged for this exact interview. And your son? The host asked. He was my everything, Alyssa whispered. But Nathan stole him back. Stole. She used that word, as if I hadn't spent the last 3 years being erased by her lie, as if I didn't carry the footage, not just of her deal, but her signature, her money, her intent. Rebecca muted the TV. I can turn it off, she said. You don't need to watch this. I do, I said. I need to know exactly how far she's willing to go. Because this wasn't for sympathy. This wasn't about the court. This was prepping a defense, building public bias. And Alyssa knew something was coming. I knelt beside Liam. He looked up, studying my face. "You're quiet," he said. I smiled. "Just thinking." "About what?" "About stories," I said, "and how sometimes the real ones don't get told until the end." He nodded like he understood, and I knew right then that everything I was doing, every slow, cold, deliberate step, was for him. The camera cut back to Alyssa. She looked dead into the lens and said, "I just want justice." And so did I. But not the kind she was expecting. Not the kind served in courtrooms or on talk shows. The kind that ends careers. That ends the lie. That ends her. And it was already in motion. Alyssa's book hit #1 on the Broken Mothers chart 3 days after release. Left with Nothing by Alyssa Grant. The cover showed her cradling a toddler in soft sepia tones, backlit like a saint. The subtitle read, "How I Survived a Narcissist and Fought for My Son." It sold out in 3 days. By day 5, it was optioned for a docu-series. By week 2, her face was on banners in Soho. Morning shows, podcasts, book clubs, all lies, all public, all permanent. But the thing about lies printed on paper, you just have to own the press. Aspen Creek Publishing, the company that took her manuscript, was a mid-sized indie house based out of Boston. Family-owned, legacy-driven, understaffed, over-leveraged. And just 6 months ago, one of its creditors defaulted, opening a door for private equity to start circling. So I made some calls. Through 3 proxy firms and a shell holding in Delaware, I made a quiet buyout offer. Not to take over Aspen Creek, to take control of its editorial board, its legal counsel, and its PR department. 4 weeks later, I sat in a glass-walled boardroom in Boston as CEO Joseph Forrester handed me a pen. "You're now the majority partner in Aspen Creek's nonfiction vertical," he said. I smiled. "Perfect. Let's start with a recall." The press release went out the next day. Due to newly discovered discrepancies in source verification, Aspen Creek Publishing has issued a full content audit of Left with Nothing by Alyssa Grant. Further distribution is on hold, pending legal review. Every retailer pulled it. Amazon flagged it. The series deal cancelled. Her book tour dead. Her manager dropped her. And Alyssa, she didn't go quiet. She went nuclear. Posted a 7-minute Instagram video. "This is censorship. They're trying to silence a woman who survived abuse. This is what real trauma looks like." It got 2 million views. And then the comments started to change. Because my next move wasn't corporate, it was personal. I leaked 2 still images, frame-by-frame screenshots. One of her accepting the envelope from Julian. One of her signing the placement waiver. No caption, no context, just truth, released into a world already questioning her. And it spread faster than any headline she'd ever bought. Her memoir died overnight. And the truth had only just begun to speak. She filed a defamation lawsuit, and I let her walk into a trap of her own making. Location: Supreme Court of New York County, Civil Division. 1 week after her book was pulled, Alyssa's legal team filed suit. Defamation, invasion of privacy, emotional distress. They named me, Aspen Creek Publishing, and 3 anonymous media accounts as defendants. She wanted $5 million in damages. But this time, she wasn't just building a public narrative. She was walking directly into discovery. Her lawyer was a media hound named Gavin Lure, known for dragging lawsuits across cable networks. He thrived on outrage. He probably thought this was his Netflix moment. At the first hearing, he called me a vindictive, emotionally abusive manipulator who was weaponizing wealth to destroy a single mother. The judge didn't blink. Neither did I. Because I was holding something Gavin didn't know existed. During court prep, Raymond Cole, her original custody lawyer, now quietly working for me, delivered a trove of documents Alyssa had accidentally left in her old Dropbox folder. Among them, a draft version of her memoir with tracked edits, and an attached note. Make this part more dramatic. Say he screamed at you here. We can't verify it, but it'll sell. Signed, her ghostwriter. And there it was, intent to fabricate, in her own files, with timestamps, metadata, IP logs, and email backups from the ghostwriter's Gmail. My lawyer Caitlin submitted a motion to dismiss her lawsuit on the basis of malicious prosecution and abuse of process. We included 47 pages of internal correspondence from Alyssa's team. Discussions about framing the memoir as a narrative reframe, even if certain scenes were emotionally constructed. Gavin went pale in court. The judge granted discovery against Alyssa. And just like that, her lawsuit became her liability. Then came the order. She was compelled to submit her full manuscript history, communications with Julian Reddick, bank records tied to the memoir advance, and all private contracts related to the adoption. She asked the judge to seal them. The judge denied it. Outside the courtroom, she tried to speak to the press, but the same anchors who once sympathized with her, now they were quoting the memo, where she asked if it would help sales if she made the baby seem stolen. And every headline said the same thing. Alyssa Grant faces evidence of manufactured trauma in 5 Metro's lawsuit. She handed me a lawsuit, and I turned it into a weapon of truth. The courtroom went silent when I played the footage. Location: Manhattan Family Court. Final custody hearing. The courtroom was full, not just with lawyers and family observers, but with people Alyssa invited, activists, bloggers, a documentary crew from a streaming startup. She wanted this day to be her redemption arc. The judge asked if we had any final submissions before the ruling. Yes, Your Honor, Caitlin said. We request permission to present video evidence relevant to both custody and prior sworn testimony. The judge raised an eyebrow. Go ahead. The lights dimmed. A screen rolled out, and I pressed play. The room filled with cold night static. A timestamp. April 17th, 3:03 a.m. Alyssa appeared on screen, holding Liam in the hallway. She opened the front door. Julian Reddick stepped into frame. Black SUV behind him. Is the paperwork signed? He asked. She nodded. He handed her a thick envelope. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't cry. She handed over Liam, then turned and walked back inside. The video ended. Silence. Even Gavin Lure didn't move. The judge sat back slowly. Ms. Grant, he said, you testified under oath that Mr. Cole abandoned his child. This footage directly contradicts that claim. Do you wish to respond? Alyssa didn't speak. She stared at the screen like it might blink and change. Caitlin stood. We also submit for the record a signed waiver from the same date. Proof of payment. Metadata from her memoir showing fictionalization of key events. And communications with Mr. Reddick and Dr. Maxine Wells showing collusion in an unlawful adoption. Alyssa's lawyer whispered something in her ear. She shook her head. Hard. The judge looked down at his papers, then back at her. You're not only unfit for sole custody, you may be under investigation for perjury and criminal conspiracy. This court will notify the district attorney. She stood up suddenly. That's not how it happened, she blurted. He manipulated me into... Sit down, Ms. Grant, the judge ordered. She didn't. A bailiff took her arm. I didn't look at her. I looked at Liam, sitting quietly behind the glass, on Rebecca's lap, watching something on her phone. He didn't know what was happening yet, but he would. One day I'd tell him, and when I did, I'd have every receipt, every frame, every truth, because justice doesn't always scream. Sometimes it just presses play. They tried to erase me, so I erased their future instead. Location: Manhattan DA's office, Aspen Creek HQ, private trust meeting, Westchester. Alyssa was officially charged 10 days later. 3 felony counts: perjury in family court, fraudulent transfer of parental rights, conspiracy to falsify legal documentation. Julian Reddick was picked up in Nashville a week later, attempting to fly out under a false name. Dr. Maxine Wells surrendered quietly. 3 names, 3 arrests, all because they tried to erase me. And I didn't fight it with anger. I fought it with paper, with code, with silence. Aspen Creek issued a full retraction of Alyssa's book, including a statement from its own editorial board. We apologize for our role in amplifying a false narrative and will be reviewing our protocols. Every copy pulled from shelves, digital versions recalled. Bookstores blacklisted her name. She was dropped from every public speaking contract, and her verified social accounts were disabled for community manipulation. But revenge wasn't just punishment, it was prevention. So I did one more thing. I created a trust, the Liam Grant Cole Trust, locked, private, and irrevocable, funded with the exact amount Alyssa had earned from her book and public appearances, plus interest, donated anonymously. She'd never see it, never touch it, but Liam would. He'd go to college with that money. He'd start a business if he wanted. He'd never know that the fortune came from the ashes of his mother's lies. Because I didn't want him to grow up in war. I just wanted him to grow up. Raymond Cole called me after the sentencing. "It's over," he said. They offered Alyssa a reduced sentence if she testified against Julian. She took it. "Let her talk," I said. "Every word she speaks now just deepens the hole she built." And in the background, the world moved on. People forgot. Media found new scandals. Alyssa disappeared from headlines like she never existed. But Liam, he was still building towers in the living room, and I was still beside him. Because sometimes the best revenge is building something that can't be stolen. She wrote me a letter from prison. I never opened it. Location: Westchester, NY, private residence. It came in a plain envelope. No return address, just a federal inmate stamp from the Albion Correctional Facility in upstate New York. The handwriting on the front? I knew it instantly. Alyssa's. The curves. The pressure. Still trying to make even her cursive look like a performance. I stood there at my front gate, staring at it. Liam's laughter echoed through the window behind me. He was inside with Rebecca, playing something loud and chaotic. I had everything I needed. The envelope felt heavier than it should have. Probably 10 pages, maybe more. A confession, an apology, another manipulation attempt. I didn't care, because I didn't need closure from a woman who only knew how to perform guilt. I walked back into the house, slid the envelope into a drawer, locked it, never opened it. There was no more stage for her to speak from, no more camera to cry to, no more headlines to shape. The world had heard enough from her, and so had I. That night, Liam asked me if I ever missed his mom. I paused. "I think," I said, "some people are meant to teach us what love isn't." "Was she bad?" "No," I said. "She made a bad choice, a lot of them." "Do you still love her?" He asked it without judgment. Just a child, fishing in waters he didn't understand yet. "I love that you're here," I answered, "and that's enough for me." He nodded, content. That's the thing about children. They don't care about the courtroom. They care about the presence, the the consistency, the truth. And that's all I had left to give, and all he needed. The letter remains unopened, not because I hate her, but because she no longer matters. Not in my house, not in his life, not in the story we're building now, page by page, day by day, together. She told the world I hurt her, but the truth doesn't bruise, it erases. Location: Central Park, NYC, present day. I don't talk about her anymore, not to Liam, not to friends, not even to myself. Her name feels like a distant country I no longer visit, a place full of smoke, stage tears, and microphone wires tucked under blouses. And yet, the damage she tried to cause, gone. Because I didn't fight her the way she expected. I didn't scream back. I didn't beg. I didn't try to win in her theater. I simply brought the truth and let it burn everything she'd built. Liam is almost 7 now, bright, funny, obsessively into dinosaurs. He doesn't remember the cameras, the lawyers, the storm, just a tall man who started showing up, who taught him how to ride a bike, who made pancakes shaped like comets, who stayed. People still ask me why I never fought back sooner, why I let her take the stage, why I didn't scream my truth the minute she lied. The answer's simple. Because real revenge doesn't show up on cue. It waits, it watches, and when it strikes, it ends the entire show. Today, Liam asked if I was happy. I said yes, because I am. Not because I won, but because I gave him a life built on real love, not one sold off like property in the middle of the night. Alyssa once told the world I was a monster, but I never hit her, never screamed, never disappeared. All I did was tell the truth, and the truth doesn't bruise, it erases.